If you own a single family home in Hermosa Beach, you are currently holding the only winning hand in a game where inventory has been cut in half. But if you own a condo, the average unit is sitting on the market for 95 days, a wait time that has tripled in the last year. Same ocean breeze, two completely different realities. And if you price or time your sale like it's just one Hermosa market, you risk becoming the stale listing that buyers ignore or leaving serious equity on the table in a scarcity pocket. If you're planning a move in the next 3 to 6 months, the real question isn't is Hermosa Beach up or down? It's what kind of buyer you'll be selling to and how steady that buyer feels between now and closing. Your time and risk lives in the stuff you can't control: borrowing costs, job confidence, and whether more inventory finally shows up. So in February 2026, you're on a tightrope. Sell into today's scarcity where the right home still pulls a serious buyer, or wait for more choice and risk the buyer pool getting pickier, slower, and more conditional. Picture a normal week in Hermosa. Pier Avenue feels alive, more boutique, more chef driven, more lifestyle. The sand section still has that lock and leave appeal, but buyers are taking a second lap and asking better questions. Up in the hill and valley sections, it flips. Fewer choices, more urgency, less tolerance for we'll think about it. That's why I'm talking about 3 lanes this month. Lane 1 is the sprints lane, where scarcity creates speed and clean outcomes happen when you hit the market correctly. Lane 2 is the payment ceiling lane, where buyers are qualified but not forgiving and the wrong pricing story gets punished. Lane 3 is the condo contrast, where sold prices can look incredible but the active market can still feel sticky. And here's why lanes matter. You're not selling into Hermosa Beach, you're selling into a very specific buyer mood for your street, your home type, and your price band. If you get your lane wrong, the mistake usually shows up as one of 3 things: too much time on the market, too many price conversations, or a deal that feels shakier than it should. Now, everything sits on scarcity, so here's the baseline. In the most recent monthly numbers leading into February 2026, months of supply in Hermosa Beach is 2.3 months of supply for single family homes and 4.2 months for condos and townhomes. Months of supply simply means if no new listings came on, how long would it take buyers to buy what's already for sale? For you as an owner, lower supply usually means more leverage. For buyers, higher supply usually means more patience. So you can already see the split. Single family is scarce enough to keep sellers in control if they don't get sloppy. Condos and townhomes are closer to balanced, which means the market rewards the best product and ignores the rest. Here's what you'll get from this update. You'll know which lane your home fits into, what buyers are doing in that lane, and how to choose a posture that minimizes regret, speed, max price, or a calmer wait and monitor plan. And if you want this mapped for your exact address but aren't quite ready to get on a call, I'll put a tool called HomeBots in the description. Think of it as a monthly financial dashboard for your home, estimated equity, mortgage options, and buying power based on real-time rates. The link is in the description. I'm Israel Hernandez, your real estate advisor here in Hermosa Beach. My job isn't to hype. My job is to help you build a flight plan for your equity so that you don't make a timing or pricing mistake that future you regrets. One quick warning though, before we go lane by lane, citywide averages can mislead you when the market is thin. In January 2026, we only had 3 single family closings and 2 condo townhome closings. That's why I'm going to keep anchoring to behavior, speed, leverage, and buyer selectiveness more than one headline number. Here's how we'll do this. First, I'll show you the sprint lane in single family, where leverage and speed still exist when you're positioned correctly. Then we'll talk about the payment ceiling lane, where the buyer is there but the market punishes the wrong starting number. Then we'll pivot to condos and townhomes in the sand section, because you can have premium sales and a stalled market at the exact same time. After that, I'll keep the macro piece quick: rates, the Fed's posture, and what that does for the buyer confidence. And we'll finish with the structural stuff: projects and policy that can quietly change demand block by block. Alright, let's start with where the single family market is moving fastest: the hill and valley sections. In the latest monthly snapshot, there were 16 active single family listings in Hermosa Beach, down from 34 back in December 2025, and in January 2026 we had 9 new single family listings come on, while pending sales jumped from 2 in December 2025 to 7 in January 2026. 2026. In plain English, buyers didn't just browse after the holidays, they signed contracts into a very small pool of options. Now, two numbers tell you what this lane feels like. In January 2026, the median days active in the MLS for single-family homes was 42 days. Days on market is simply how long listings sit before going under contract. For you as an owner, shorter days usually means your leverage is higher because buyers feel time pressure. For buyers, shorter days means you need clarity early. And the median percent of last list price received for single-family homes was 98.8%. That's the cleanest read on pricing power. How close sellers get on landing their final asking price when they're realistic. If you're an owner of a single-family home in this sprint lane, you might be wondering, if I list, does it actually move or am I going to sit in stress? Based on what we're seeing, this lane can still deliver a clean outcome, but you should plan for a real marketing window. And the market is still meeting sellers close to the final ask when the story makes sense. Here's the subtle part most owners miss. In a lane like this, buyers can move quickly, but they still want to feel smart. They're not just buying a house, they're buying the feeling that they won't be embarrassed by the decision 6 months later. So here's the posture framework I'd use with my own clients. If your priority is a clean, low drama sale, your leverage lives in the first wave of attention, when the listing is fresh and buyers have fewer alternatives. You don't force that with gimmicks, you earn it with readiness. And if you're sitting there thinking, okay Israel, but what if I list and the first 2 weeks are quiet? That's exactly why posture matters. Quiet doesn't automatically mean failure. In this lane, it can simply mean your buyer is circling, comparing, and waiting for certainty. You basically have 3 ways to play it. If you want speed and certainty, you set the home up so the buyer's decision feels safe and obvious. If you want to push for every dollar, you can just accept the trade-off. More time, more scrutiny, and less comfort. If you're leaning towards waiting, make sure you're waiting for something you control. Prep, timing, life, not waiting for a mythical wave of demand in a lane that's already scarce. And the right move depends on your home's condition, your price band, and your risk tolerance. This is where the smartest sellers stop guessing and start strategizing. By stress testing your plan before you go live, you will avoid practicing on the market with your own equity and ensure you don't become the stale listings neighbors talk about. If you're buying a single family home in this lane, you may be wondering, do I have negotiating room or is this still seller driven? Your leverage here usually isn't in trying to win, it's in being selective and ready. Be decisive on the right home and patient on the wrong one. And your exact posture depends on your financing, the home's condition, and how much uncertainty your family can tolerate. Now let's move to the payment ceiling lane, inside single family where the buyer exists but the buyer has limits. In January 2026, the median percent of original price received for single family homes was 94.5%. That's the gap between the first number sellers ask for and what the market actually pays. And this is why Hermosa headlines can scramble your instincts. The median single family sales price started 2025 at $4,327,750. It dipped to $1,927,500 in December 2025 and rebounded to $2,600,000 in January 2026. With low volume, the median can swing hard without telling you what buyers will do with your house. If you're an owner in this lane, you might be wondering, how much pricing power do I really have and what happens if I overshoot? The risk isn't that you can't sell. The risk is that time becomes your negotiator. Once a listing starts to feel stale, buyers don't just ask for a discount. They ask for explanations. And explanations are where leverage leaks. That original to final gap is the market telling you, if the first number doesn't make sense, the correction comes later and it usually comes with more stress. So here's the decision rule. If the market is correcting optimistic starting points, your safest posture is to avoid the long sit, doubt, discount sequence. Time trains buyers to ask for more. And in a real conversation, your options sound like this. If you want speed and peace of mind, you come out with a price buyers can defend to themselves immediately. If you want to push the ceiling, you've got to earn it with certainty, condition, and clarity, because this lane punishes ambiguity. If If you want to wait for a catalyst you control, not for a median headline to rescue you. And again, the right move depends on your home's condition, your price band, and your risk tolerance. This is why we build a custom flight plan before you list. We can map your specific goals to the market reality so you move forward with total clarity rather than hoping the market is kind to you. If you're buying in this lane, you're probably asking yourself, am I overpaying or is this still moving up? The safest posture is to buy something you can hold without resentment. If you need the market to reward you quickly, that's a fragile plan. If you can live in the home and let time do its job, you're making a durable decision. Now let's pivot to condos and townhomes, the condo contrast, and especially the sand section dynamic. In January 2026, the median days active in the MLS for condos and townhomes was 95 days. That's buyers taking their time. But at the same time, the median percent of last list price received for condos and townhomes was 101.5%. That means the units that do sell can still close above the last asking price when buyers are convinced. And price per square foot shows you how aggressive convinced can be. In January 2026, the median condo and townhome price per square foot was $1,857. In January 2025, it was $930, a 99.6% increase. That's a revaluation, not a normal glide path. If you own a condo or a townhome in the sand section, you might be wondering, do I list and risk sitting or do I list and try to capture this premium behavior? Both outcomes exist in the numbers, and the difference is whether your unit is the obvious yes. The longer marketing plan says you need a plan for patience. The premium pricing behavior says the right unit is still triggering urgency. In condos, buyers also look for friction. They're scanning for anything that makes the transaction feel unpredictable, building questions, monthly costs, future work, or vague disclosures. Your advantage as an owner is reducing those unknowns before the buyer turns them into a reason to hesitate. So here's your decision rule. If the market is separating the best inventory from the rest, your safest posture is precision. Don't rely on the market. Make your unit the choice. And here's how I'd say the options in a one-on-one conversation. If you want a clean exit, you reduce uncertainty. Clear condition, clear building story, clear expectations so the buyer doesn't hesitate. If you want maximum price, you accept the trade-off. Time. You're asking buyers to do more diligence and you're giving them a reason to feel good paying a premium. If you want to wait, only wait if a specific change will materially improve your unit's appeal. Waiting without a catalyst just means you're volunteering for more competition. And the right move depends on your unit's condition, your building's dynamics, and your risk tolerance. This is where a strategic audit protects your equity. It allows us to identify the friction points in your potential listing and solve them in advance so that you don't leave money on the table in a picky market. If you're buying in this condo lane, you might be asking yourself, do I have leverage here or am I still competing? Your best posture is dual track. On inventory that's been sitting, you can be patient. On the best units, you need to be ready because premium behavior still shows up when buyers feel confident. So here's a quick scoreboard so that you can locate yourself. First, we have the sprint lane, the single family, scarce choice and contracts being signed. Leverage lives in readiness, followed by the payment ceiling single family. The buyer exists, but the buyer pushes back. Leverage lives in avoiding the long correction cycle. Then we have the sand section condos and townhomes. Longer marketing, but premium outcomes for the best units. Leverage lives in being the obvious yes. If you want me to map that scoreboard to your address, sell now, sell later, or hold, book your strategy audit using the link below. It's the fastest way to move from market confusion to a confident plan, ensuring you don't look back in 6 months wishing you time it differently. That's the neighborhood math. Now the unforeseen forces. As of January 29, 2026, the average 30-year fixed mortgage rate was 6.10%. And as of January 28, 2026, the Fed held its target range for the federal funds rate at 3.5 to 3.75%. In plain English, borrowing is still expensive, but more stable. For you as a seller, stability matters because buyers can plan. For buyers, it reduces the fear of locking waiting and immediately regretting it. The unemployment rate was 4.4% in the most recent national read tied to this cycle, but job growth was only 50,000 in December 2025. Translation, this is a confidence market. Qualified buyers are still buying, but they want certainty. For you as a seller in the next 3 to 6 months, the best advantage you can give yourself is making your listing feel like certainty. Clear condition, clear pricing, logic, clear next steps. Quick question for you. Are you more likely to move in the next 3 to 6 months, or are you more in a sometime in 2026 mindset? And what's the biggest worry? Selling and not being able to buy back, or listing and sitting longer than you'd expect? Drop it in the comments. I'd really love to hear it. And it also matters because the next set of changes hit different streets in different ways. Now, structural change, because Hermosa isn't just a market. It's a construction plan, a policy environment, and a set of bets on what this town becomes. The city's 2025 through 2026 capital improvement program is $33,900,000, and construction on the Green Street project on Hermosa Avenue from Hernandez to 6th Street began in February 2026. That's a quality of life upgrade in the South Satin section that changes how it feels day to day, and that changes buyer willingness. Hermosa is also getting a safety upgrade. A $1 million federal grant is funding a real-time crime center expected to be operational in mid-2026. These are the quiet upgrades that expand the buyer pool, especially for families who care about livability and perceived safety. Now the development wildcard, Builder's Remedy, which can allow certain housing projects to bypass local zoning rules under specific conditions. In Hermosa, the precedent-setting story is the Ferraro project at 3415 Palm Drive. It was originally proposed as a 50-foot 5-unit building, and after community pressure, it was reduced to 35 feet and 4 units before approval in September 2025. Here's the simple 3-beat version. First, the trigger. The state is pushing housing, and local limits don't always align, so developers test the edges. Second, what's now possible. Projects that wouldn't have been allowed get a path forward. Third, where it lands. It lands on specific sites like Palm Drive, and it changes the psychology around redevelopments and neighborhood character. For you as a homeowner, it can support land value and also add uncertainty, construction, and change depending on where you live. And one more demand anchor. The Skechers Design Center and executive offices, over 300,000 square feet, brought 655 new jobs into the Manhattan/Hermosa edge. That's a built-in set of high-income households who wants lifestyle proximity. So what's the central conflict you're managing as a seller in February 2026? It's scarcity versus friction. Scarcity gives you leverage when your home is positioned correctly. Friction means buyers are careful, condos take longer, and the market rewards certainty. So the decision isn't emotional, it's strategic. Do you want to sell while the market is still relatively tight and buyers are soaring through fewer options? Or do you want to wait and accept the risk that more inventory or a wobble in confidence changes how your buyer negotiates? If you wait, you're betting on a better buyer pool and stable inventory. If you sell now, you're betting that today's scarcity is worth more than tomorrow's unknowns. My bottom line is this. In the next 3 to 6 months, the safest plan isn't sell or don't sell. The safest plan is to know your lane, choose your posture, and execute in a way that makes future you proud. So how do you play your cards? If you want a clear data-backed plan for your specific home, timing, pricing, posture, and what to watch next, secure your strategy consultation now. It's the same steps successful sellers are taking right now to protect their equity and ensure they aren't leaving a premium sale to chance. You can't control the weather, but you can choose the route and the timing. And the win is simple. You land the plane with your equity intact, your stress lower, and your family feeling like you handled this the smart way. I'm Hernandez, and I'll see you in the next video.